What if the difference between a good practitioner and a master clinician isn't what you know, but how deeply you're able to practice it? In this second episode of a series on clinical mastery, I sit down with Tami Lynn Kent, a physical therapist and founder of Holistic Pelvic Care, to explore what mastery and practice means for her based on her years of experience and discovery. Rather than chasing quick knowledge in today's fast paced, information heavy world, Tammy shares why mastery grows through curiosity, mentorship, and thousands of hours of hands on experience that refine the intelligence of your hands and deepen your clinical presence. If you want your treatments to go deeper, your confidence to grow, and your results to improve, this is a conversation you won't want to miss. Hello, friends. This is Lynn Schulte, and you are listening to the Birth Healing Summit podcast. We are here for meaningful conversations that will transform the way you work with pregnant and postpartum clients. Whether it is a new perspective, tool, or technique, you'll be able to implement it into your practice today. I invite you to sit back, listen with an open mind, and grab the golden nugget today's guest has to offer. Now let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode. And today I am beyond thrilled to reintroduce you again to Tami Lynn Kent. She is a physical therapist out in Portland, Oregon. She is the founder of Holistic Pelvic Care, which is an amazing educational teaching that she has created. She is also the author of three incredible books: Wild Feminine, Wild Mothering, Wild Creative. And she is also the mother of three amazing young men. Welcome to the podcast, Tami. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Lynn. It's always good to see you
Oh,
and talk to you.
thank you. Well, I am just so thrilled, Tami, that you are going to be joining us this year for the Birth Healing Summit, May 2nd and 3rd. And you are going to be holding a session for everyone, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But today, Tami, I'd like for us to explore this topic of clinical mastery. And to you, what is clinical mastery in your mind?
Well, I actually love the word mastery because I think it harkens back to a time when we learned with a mentor and or mentors and really took the time to deepen. I think especially in a fast-paced world where a lot of online knowledge, people feel like they have knowledge quickly, but that's not really mastery, and lots of information is not deep and not wisdom. To me, mastery is returning to something over time and deepening, kind of like the circle, the spiral, the sacred spiral, where you're coming back around. And it's that old thought of 10,000 hours. Like it really does take 10,000 hours at least to master something where you are deepening. I think it also takes spaciousness so that you can, rather than a linear pathway, which is the more masculine approach of, climbing the mountain, it's a returning and a deepening.
Oh,
So
I
to
love
me,
that.
yeah, I think mastery is
Yeah.
very feminine.
Uh-huh.
And I think that when you are able to find something that captures you enough to want to go into mastery with it, you've really found the secret to unlock your joy because it's an apprenticeship, it's with life, and with your own creative destiny. And I think it's my greatest joy is finding those pieces that unlocked and created wonder and curiosity for me. So I think curiosity is a key part of that. Like what makes you
Mhm.
curious? What expands your awe? What brings wonder? Follow that, deepen that, find people doing that in masterful ways, take time with them, and, that's really the meaning of life to me. So,
Oh my God, I think we could be done with the podcast right there. Mic drop, boom, we're done. That was so good. I love that. Oh my gosh. And as you were talking there, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I did. That's what I did. That's what I, I was finding something in the pelvis and like, why is this happening? And I explored it. And yeah, my love really, it came to me. I didn't go find it, you know?
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
and it's, I think, wonder and curiosity. I think you're successful in life if you can actually find your inner child magic and bring it to your adult life. And that is something that culturally, especially Western culture, has maybe taken people a little bit away from because it's brought them outside of themselves into intellect and into knowledge that's outside of them. And I certainly was an academic
Yeah.
being that, strived for grades. And so when I found my way to body work, that was the first thing that kind of unlocked my curiosity, actually yoga and the body and movement and breath, and then holistic medicine, and then, body work and physical therapy, and then the pelvic health. It's like following a treasure map where it gets deeper and deeper, and then you tend to find your own peace in it, which I think is what we all crave. We want to find a way to unlock our own abilities in something. And so when you're following your curiosity, it kind of naturally does tend to guide you to that. And then
Mhm.
it just blossoms. And I hope for that in all of my sons. I wrote Wild Creative as really a maybe a roadmap for that. Like follow your creativity, follow your curiosity, unlock it. Look at how anyone who's really done anything really potent has used that foundationally. And I'm trying in a world that would like to put people on linear paths for myself as a mother with sons to encourage them to find ways to approach their curiosity, but then deepen with people so that they really do get to that level of mastery. Because I've seen that with my oldest son who's working as an artist. And while he's feeling frustrated in the commercial realm and, the monetary point, he's meeting a lot of mentors in the craft who are masters, who are teaching him how to unlock his voice, how to unlock his performance, and how to unlock things visually. And I really think that that is the way to a beautiful and bountiful life.
Yeah. Oh, that is so interesting. So I love this idea of that spiral and going deeper and deeper and deeper. And as physical therapists, Tammy, we have knowledge that the general population doesn't always understand or know about their body. And
Right.
so I'm really excited about, in social media, PTs are out there sharing wonderful knowledge for women. And yet, I think there's also, and I'm curious your take on this, um, and I want to be careful how I question this or put this out there, is that yes, we have this knowledge that most people don't. Yet, to me, I'm seeing these really new therapists out there stepping into this field thinking that they're already masters.
That is, you and I have talked about this a little bit. I think that's because we don't really talk about and understand mastery, that it isn't ownership of something or a taking. That's actually kind of the toxic patriarchy that we're trying to fix, where the toxic patriarchy doesn't respect source, doesn't honor process, and just thinks, I get this or I bought it and so I get to have it. Mastery is really something much deeper. It's
Hmm.
step by step. It's acknowledging what you're learning from where you're learning it from. And it's a respectful way to move. And then you really do find your rightful piece in it. But I think because of social media, things are moving so fast and they're sound bites. And I've said this also to my sons, just because you have a lot of information that isn't wisdom. Wisdom is much deeper and it's a more internal process. And so just being aware of that, and I think it's something to be mindful of in all the realms, just kind of having discernment, even as we're digesting information. Who is the person talking to us? What sources are they
Hmm.
saying or you're sharing? Or if they're presenting as an original source, what is their background? Where are they getting this? And lots of little information points are not depth. So I think for me, especially on a path of true mastery, I'm looking for that depth. And you can really sense it if you start to get a radar for this. You can sense when something is really deep and rich, when something is really a source and kind of a true integrated fountain of wisdom coming from someone that has walked the trail by hand versus someone that is, or foot step by step versus someone who is just kind of spouting information. And I think it's important to start looking for that, especially if you want to have mastery yourself. It's
Yeah.
good to start to discern who am I following and why. And I think this is an important thing to talk about, even in the, as we're talking more holistically, right? We're both tend to be holistically oriented in the field of holistic medicine. There still are, I guess, false prophets, I would say, that are kind of talking the talk but not walking the walk. And
Uh,
if you really want mastery, you have to look at how someone has arrived to share the information that they are sharing.
yeah. And Tammy, what scares me even more is AI
Mm, right.
and the information and where we're getting that information because
Right.
AI can hallucinate,
Well,
and
that's why, too, I think it's important as we talk about mastery to really get grounded in one's own center. And
mm,
I feel like because I have walked a more feminine path in the work I've developed, you know that in my work, I did step by step, more than 10,000 hours of development and kind of the body work I create. Holistic pelvic care is a body work practice that I created from holes that I saw in the practice I had been taught. And so I really created it step by step. But to do that, I had to really walk slower and walk in my own path and be patient. It took me 9 years to write Wild Feminine. It required a lot of time and consistent showing up and practice. Practice is part of mastery. And so in that, it created a process in me that I feel like even when I look at AI, I can feel how the lack of integrity.
mm,
And I hope I can always keep that, but I can kind of feel in my own body vibration that something feels a little off. And I
yeah,
think it's important to keep attuning to that in ourselves and to
mhm,
talk about it so we can recognize it, because certainly AI will come forward and will take
yeah,
up space. But if we are still attuned in our own center, I think it will recognize it sooner. And I do notice in my oldest son, who have talked with this a lot about, we've taught some classes together, and he just turned 26, so he's still quite young.
uh-huh,
But because we've talked about this, I can see him also have kind of a clear radar for that.
mhm,
And it's something that I think it's important to give voice to so we don't get carried away. And especially sometimes if we're in comparison mode and we're like,
mm,
oh, but we're kind of outside of our center when we're looking at the information, we have to get really clear and back in our own center. And that means rhythmical living. And, it doesn't have to be perfect, but even just having a practice in our body so that we're engaging with the sun and the light and the air on a slower basis to keep that foundation clear so that we can recognize this stuff.
wow. That's so important. And that truly is our focus. This Birth Healing Summit is to help people to come inside themselves and really be with their center and hopefully clear it out so it's easier for them to listen and be with that center. Yeah. So I love that your work is just absolutely beautiful, Tammy. I share about your work and I use your work all the time. And I just absolutely love how beautifully you walk your talk. And I'm just so grateful for you as that example to us in what it looks like. I'll never forget reaching out to you early on when I was doing my summits and going, Tammy, you want to be a part of it? And you're like, let me check in and let me see if it's right. You weren't a just, sure, Lynn. It was, no, I'm going to check in and make sure this is right and make sure Spirit is guiding me to do this year. And there were several times when you said no. And so
Yes.
I,
And let me say something about that too that I think is important. So with that, in part of mastery, I know that playtime is really important for me, like
mhm,
playtime with my feminine. So for me, sometimes that's prayer and ritual. Sometimes it's working out and yoga and things like
yeah,
that. Sometimes it's going out on dates with my partner or going to visit my sons. And I go thrifting with them. Like I play in that field. So it's kind of like, seems like it's not, mastery also is not just on the topic that you're working on. Let's just say whatever we're mastering our physical therapy, or all of people here are probably working as healers. Part of being a deep healer is making sure that that beautiful part of you that is inspired and curious is fed, not even just in the direct line of your work, but in your life. So I always sense into when my creative fire gets low, and it gets low. I mean, I absolutely feel burned out at times, not in my work because that is so rich with my um, and I would say if you're feeling burned out in work, find ways to deepen the creative fire in your work. But in personal life, just because I tend three sons, I have a partner, I have a, rich life.
yeah,
But I'll feel my chi getting low. And so I go, okay, it's time for me to just do things that aren't even really productive,
mhm,
that are kind of non-linear so that I can actually put fuel in my creative fire. And I think that's really important. That's an important part of walking the walk is
yeah.
that non-linear nothing time.
Absolutely. I am just so aware of when I do take that time away from work and just go move my body, whether it's for a walk or a run or playing tennis or whatever it is, the creative fire does get bigger. And
Rekindled. Yes.
yeah, and the inspiration comes through, when you're like,
Absolutely.
oh my gosh, it's so incredible to really honor that.
Mhm.
And so thank you for sharing that. What would you say to some newer therapists, younger, let's talk about younger therapists, new into pelvic health, and what would you want to share with them to help them create their own clinical mastery?
Yeah, I would say focus on hands-on skills, like really develop your hands, these things, you know.
Yes.
I think that the hands are like a secret to being a really good healer, and it takes practice. Again, you don't start there. So some of you might have natural abilities, but everyone can develop it. And I like osteopathic type courses, cranial, sacral, myofascial, any type of work that really works with your hands and teaches you how to sense with your hands. I think oftentimes, especially because, like in physical therapy, for example, it's a hard think training to get through. There's a lot of mental learning and studying, and so we can get pretty cerebral and try to figure out what's wrong. So if we can come more into the felt sense with the hands and the body, and that means also taking care of your body, doing nourishing things for the body, putting lotions on, getting rest, like make sure you take care of your body.
Yeah.
But then, working with the hands to become your sensors because it's really powerful to do hands-on work in the pelvis. And I think that was something my mentor, MJ Strawhall, taught me, who was a real powerhouse in the pelvic field. She was one who early on said, I think hands-on work is important. And I remember thinking, what is that even, to do
Yeah.
hands-on work in the, I mean, I was as a PT, I had more cerebral learning. And so really, I did develop my hands and worked a lot with fascia, which I think is the secret
Mhm.
sauce, and so helpful. I think women's health, I think everyone needs body work, and the fascia is
Mhm.
really the secret part of our women's health. And there's so much we can do in women's health because there is so much that hasn't been done. So I would say work on, your hands and your body work techniques, and then just dive in. Wild Feminine is a great resource if you're someone working in the pelvic field. There's so much that I've written in there that's even just about our own bodies because I didn't feel like I'd been taught about the power in my body. I'd been more taught about what things are wrong when they go wrong instead of
Yeah,
the
true.
beauty, the power, and the spirit
Yeah.
that is there, which is why I wrote something about
Well,
it.
and I think one of my biggest takeaways or aha moments when I was reading that book, Tammy, was just kind of understanding my own um awareness of like how I think about women, how I think about feminine, like you asking those questions. Like everybody listening in, if you haven't read it, Wild Feminine is more than a book. It's a workbook. It is, you can go as deep as you want, or you can stay as shallow as you want. It's up to you. But Tammy really gives you the opportunities to explore and to figure out like, yeah, what does that mean to me? Like I had never ever thought about that. Like, what does being a woman mean to me? What does being
Absolutely.
feminine mean to me? And I just think that like there are so many gems in all your works, but
There's so
um,
much coding that we don't realize. I think that we
yeah.
encode, and a lot of it is negative that we don't realize. And I think that was the surprising thing for me as I put my hands on the female body is I'm a sensitive and I can feel energy. And so I would feel all this beauty and power. But then when I would talk with the women, myself included in this, they would kind of have such a limited view of their own body. It might be anatomical, but also there was a lot of negative language around menstruation, around, how they presented. And I realized we saw it almost more as either a sexual thing, something to birth babies, or a problem. Whereas
Wow.
it's so
Yeah.
much richer than that. I mean, the pelvic bowl is a dynamically potent creative space that actually gives us information about our lives, how to, work in our lives in ways that
Yeah.
are powerful, creative. It can give us medicine to things that have happened to us. There's so much chi. You think, we create humans there, we download humans. So there's so much chi just for living. So I really learned that that part of the body could be accessed for information. It could be a guide and gauge. It could be a beautiful. So I started using different language, talked about the pelvic bowl and the root and the wild feminine
Yeah.
and mirrored more the poetry and the power that I saw in that space. So yeah, some people feel like that book also has a almost like an aliveness to it, like a tarot card. Like
Yeah.
they'll ask it a question and open it. And I mean, that book really has its own energy.
Yeah.
So I would encourage women to read it just so you understand how
Yeah.
beautiful and powerful you are. The
Right.
truth.
I mean, I remember getting done with that book, Tammy, and there was so much excitement inside of me. Like it awoke
Mhm.
that this power that I, don't even think I knew I had. And I was just like, holy cow, this is incredible.
I know, and that's just it, is every one of us has it. So it's
Yes.
not a scarcity, it's not over here, it's not something you have to earn. It's there, and it's really something that maybe through that, my hope was that I would teach each person more how to access it because that is our birthright.
Yes. And oh my goodness, we need every single woman in this world to be accessing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we are going to be the change in the world. You
We are
know?
the medicine. We are the medicine. And I think it has medicine for us. It certainly changed my life. Accessing that changed my access to my own creativity, my own guidance, my own truth, my own measure of how to be in my own center. It's just, there's so much there.
Oh my gosh, there is, you guys. And if you have not explored the wild, I mean, all three of your books are incredible, Tammy. And I know we're focusing on Wild Feminine, but Wild Mothering has its own amazing information as well on us stepping into this role of motherhood
Mhm.
and the impact and the energy of the birth. And that is what we're going to be discovering and discussing more in the Birth Healing Summit this year. So Tammy's theme or her title for her talk is Birth Energy as Medicine, Healing, Pelvic Restoration, and Reclaiming Your Power. So, Tammy, do you want to talk a little bit more about what people can expect in our session together?
Sure. I like to go into the places where we haven't maybe fully accessed our medicine, our feminine medicine. So in Wild Feminine, it's really the medicine of the body. In Wild Mothering, I call that book a love letter to mothers. It's not a
Mhm.
call to do more or be more. It's really an opening of the medicine that we download in our bodies. And I have a special passion for births that don't go as planned, that may feel traumatic or off, because that's the foundation where sometimes women or a mother, or if we're caring for a mother, will feel like she did something wrong or she's off. And I want every mother to feel the power in the birth and the power of the medicine of the download of that child. And that is something that is accessible regardless of the birth. Now, in an undisturbed birth, it's often kind of there and flowing. There's like an imprint that feeds that mother and child. And so we know what that looks like. And because of the energetic tools and things I work with, I learned a lot about how to work with that pattern when it didn't go as planned or it got a bit interrupted. And so I work with the birth energy as a blueprint to restore the flow to every mother. And I've worked a lot with birth trauma. And so I work with providers that work with women and also with women themselves, and write about that in Wild Mothers. So I'll be sharing some of that, just how we can access the medicine in the birth field even to repair birth trauma, and then have it be a support, because it's meant to be a support for that mother and her child for their whole lives. And I use it even still with my grown sons now. As children are like in their late 20s, they more and more take their own field, but still it can be so helpful. We are the source point as a mother, and we can help resource mothers to access that. So it's a big passion of mine to set that in a way that feels empowering to every woman.
Yeah, and for those of you that have not given birth yourself to a child, the same work can be done for us in our own birth coming into this world. And Tammy, I know
Yep.
I've shared this on another podcast or another summit interview or anything, but I will never forget I think it was your second course that I took live. And I was born breech, I was born feet first. And I repatterned that birth in that course, Tammy. And I feel like I connected into the universe of universes
Yes,
with that
yes,
energy. I mean, it was so expansive and so beyond anything that I
yes,
have ever experienced. And that was from my own physical birth. So,
yes.
people listening in, and if you're thinking about joining the summit, and you're not a mother, please don't think that Tammy's session is not for you because it truly is. And there's that impact of how we came into into the world. It really does impact how we show up.
It does. And that information is in Wild Creative if anybody is curious about that. But yes, there's three kind of distinct bodies of work. And of course, we all download. And the other thing I have passion for, which may resonate with some, is we're supposed to have a tribe of mothers. So even one mother is not enough, but also not everyone has a mother who's kind of encouraging or
Yeah.
supportive. And so
Yes.
this work also in doing that download and the birth energy, which I'll do a snippet of when we talk together, is also powerful for really repatterning your relationship with the great mother so that you feel cherished and
Yeah.
loved and held and supported in whatever way. So there's so much medicine in these energy fields that we can tap into.
Oh gosh. And so Tammy and I kind of have an idea of what's going to happen. So Tammy and I will be together. It'll be a 90-minute session live. And whoever shows up on the call with us during that time, there's a potential we're going to go with the flow of the feminine and spirit as Tammy and I work together. And we may do a one-on-one session. Tammy may do a session with someone in the audience. And so it's a potential for you to experience Tammy's work with her one on one. Potentially. We'll see how
Yeah,
things
see the flow.
unfold,
Yeah.
right? But
I
we're
love doing live work though. It's so fun.
it is. And just, if you're like, oh, well, why would I want to listen to someone else having a session with Tammy? Because so many of you may resonate with exactly what's coming up in that person's session with Tammy. So there's group healing that can happen when you just observe and everybody like to be able to observe Tammy, her mastery just comes through in that group live work. So there's going to be one lucky individual that might be able to get to work with Tammy, and the rest of us are going to benefit from just really observing Tammy's mastery at work. So,
Yeah, I think when we observe too, we get to really see the potency in the field. I think again, it's hard to find this in Western culture because we are so head-based and also we don't tend to have collective rituals anymore. I think we had more understanding of this when we were in a collective space and we saw the way that healers worked with people and there was this impact that rippled out, but it's pretty powerful. And, it's, I mean, power in understanding the power of the field and the ways that we are connected and the ways that we can learn from each other. So I hope that I can share some things that you'll be able to take away and feel hope and possibility. And, I know it's a shaky time, so we need all the medicine that
yes.
we can.
Yes, we do. Oh my goodness. Tammy, I'm beyond thrilled that you've said yes to being a part of this Birth Healing Summit because I know the power and the beauty that you're going to bring and share with us all. So thank you. Is
Thank you.
there anything else that you would like to share before we say goodbye here about clinical mastery?
I think the only thing I would say is know that you are a divine and sacred being. And part of mastery, sometimes that word brings us into our head, but I would say bring it down into your heart and let it just unlock your beauty. That's to me mastery.
Absolutely. And let that beauty shine in your sessions, right? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. As the work that we're doing with all the speakers, and I just love how it's all going to unfold. But it truly is about coming within and connecting in with that beauty and that love that we have for ourselves and being able to shine that and share that with the clients that come to work with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, this has been amazing. Thank you, Tammy, so much for your time.
Thank
And
you, Lynn.
we will look forward to seeing you. You are going to be on Sunday, May 3rd, when we
Okay,
do our session. So
great.
everybody
Look
look
forward to seeing
forward
you all
to
then.
yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks so
All
much for
right.
listening in, and we will see you all in the next episode. Take care,
Sounds
everybody.
good.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Today's podcast was brought to you by the Institute for Birth Healing. To discover more, visit instituteforbirthhealing.com. To claim $50 off of any online course, use coupon code PODCAST50 at checkout. Till next time, I'm Lynn Schulte, founder of the Institute for Birth Healing.